we
think
live?
we're live.
We're getting a blue circle still. Don't know if it's up yet.
I think we're
I think we're
live.
live.
Oh, we're live. Hello. You know, we always have to wait a couple of minutes just to see who's going to come join us today. And now I'm back in front of a camera where I don't get to see the names pop up, so I can't be Romper Room today. We might have to have Katie be our call-out girl, because...
But our internet is always so slow, so if you're out there, hello! Shelly Buffington, hello!
Yay! Shelly, you're very reliable. We like that about you.
You're prompt.
Yeah, we like being prompt.
I just see Shelly so far.
All right.
I know our people are out there. You know they're there.
The counter says we have 8 people watching.
All right, we got 8 people. Yay! I like to have just a
Kate
moment.
Blair says hi.
Oh, hi, Kate. You are on my list to call. I have looked for your fabric, and we don't have that color anymore. I couldn't find it. I know, so we might have to talk about substitutions. We'll talk.
Deb Frazier says hi.
Hi, Deb.
Janet Bell.
Hi, Janet. This is my favorite time. Knowing who's here watching us is very fun.
This feels like Mr. Rogers.
Oh, now it's
Like,
Mr.
well,
Rogers. We've moved from Romper Room. I don't know if that's forwards to Mr. Rogers or backwards to Mr. Rogers, but we're staying in the juvenile. We're keeping it childlike, innocent, fun. That's our...
Cindy S&T says thanks for a great week.
Oh, you're awesome. This is our last binding class, girls, so I hope you brought your math brains again. I hope Barb Nichols out there, because she's always concerned about the math. Yeah, she likes me to repeat it. Yeah, quilt math is really hard because everything turns into a half an inch or a quarter inch. It's all magic. So, okay. So what I thought I would start with is yesterday we showed you the glow in the dark fabrics. Oh, up higher. There we go. The glow in the dark fabrics, and I wanted to show you that what that pack of fat quarters does is, come on over here, Katie. Here, I was going to have you. Oops. Oh, I was going to have you hold the other end of the quilt.
Oh.
I was going to leave that there.
All right.
I thought we'd just show you. Can you guys see it? Up high. Great boy quilt. This quilt is the City Blocks pattern. Or no, it's the Take 10. This is by Emily Scott Design. Christine's another one who loves to watch us, and we love her. This is her pattern, and it's really a nice, easy pattern. So if you're in the mood to get something done in a day, you can knock this one out. It's 10 fat quarters. And it's all this glow in the dark. And I kind of want to turn all the lights out and make you guys see it glow, but that's way too much work.
That's
so,
advanced.
Yeah, that's advanced. We're not that advanced yet. So anyway, that is the quilt of the day. Libby Daughtery just brought that back in. Thank you, Miss Lib. You do awesome work. So if you want to do a glow in the dark quilt too, we have fat quarters waiting for you. All right, we have more big, exciting news. This has been the question of the day. We get at least a dozen phone calls a day. We get a lot of phone calls a day asking if elastic has come back in. We got 800 yards, lady. That is a lot. That's a lot of elastic. We cut it up. It's very inexpensive. 5 yards is $1.25. So we bundled it into 5-yard little packages. And we're limiting it to 4 packs per person, so 20 yards, which gives you enough to make about, what do we say,
It's like 10 masks per yard.
Was it? No.
No, it's 14 inches is 1 mask.
It was 6 masks per yard, and we're giving you 20 yards. It gives you enough to make like 25 masks, something like that.
Quilt math.
I don't know. It's more quilt mask. It's too hard. But we have elastic, and I know a bunch of you have been waiting for it. And as we said, we're limiting it to 4 packs per person, which is 20 yards, just so that we don't want any hoarders out there. And then you can come back and get some more. We imagine we'll go through this pretty quickly, but I do have another backup order. So hopefully, once we get that initial push, are going to be with us a little bit. So that brings me to what we're going to do next week, even though I haven't finished this week, is we're going to focus on masks next week. We're going to do a mask a day, and there's all different kinds of techniques, some of them super, super simple, and some of them just a little bit more involved. Some use a serger, some use elastic, some use piping or cording, some use clothesline, all different kinds of tools and techniques. So we thought next week would be topic of the day is mask making. I was trying to avoid that topic because I wanted this to be like the fun, playful happy hour, but it's a really important topic, and everyone's really taken initiative to make those masks, so we thought, let's just jump on board and give you guys some tools to be able to do it at home.
Happy question.
Yes, what's your question?
Carmen wants to know what width is the elastic?
It's 1/4 inch. So this is the narrow 1/4 inch elastic. I don't know if you can see that. And there's also another thing we're going to show you next week is there's a really cool little headband. It puts 2 buttons on the side. Joyce is going to give a little demo on that next week that shows you how to get it off of your ears. Because I think a lot of healthcare workers are saying when they wear these masks all day, it gets really tiring behind the ears. So for the layman, it's probably not a big deal, but we'll show you some cool tools next week.
All right, we got to say hi to Deb Frazier, Dawn Wenger. We fixed Dawn's machine while she waited.
Oh,
So,
yay!
yeah.
We've done a lot of troubleshooting over the phone. I love it when we can actually solve your problem over the phone. I get a lot of happy customers that call back and they're like, oh my gosh, it worked! So we might do some more machine home repair techniques. We'll sprinkle a few of those in too. So, okay, so our demo today, I'm going to use my same demo quilt. I did the 2-sided binding the day before yesterday. So I thought I would use the opposite corner today, and we're going to talk about putting a flange on. So a flange is super simple to add to your binding. There's also piping that you could do, which is a little bit more advanced, but I thought today I'm just going to keep it simple. So we're going to do a flange, and so we start with that 1-inch strip again. The very first thing we do with that 1-inch strip is we're just going to press it at our ironing board into a 1/2-inch strip. So I'm going to go ahead, my iron turned off, and I don't know that you need to watch me do, oh, look at that smooth turn. These guys are getting really, you should see the tech scene behind the scenes, what they're doing. It's pretty awesome. I'm waiting for my iron to heat up. I forgot to push the button.
It's real life again.
I know, back to real life. It's coming. Even cordless irons actually have to heat up before you can use them.
Oh, we got hi Jill and Pam. Happy birthday, Jill.
Oh, it's Jill's birthday. We sang her. We have a little group. What is it called? A workplace group.
For the QBs
QBs, for the
staff.
staff, and we did a little live presentation for Jill to sing her happy birthday. So. We are really sad.
And Tammy and Judy.
Oh,
we got so many people. They're just popping up.
All right. Well, we were sorry that Jill wasn't able to be here for her birthday because I don't know if you guys know, but Joyce actually is quite the baker, and for everyone's birthday, Joyce always makes someone something special, and so today we had to do without, and we were sad. So we're waiting for everyone to come back, and we'll celebrate their birthdays when they get here.
Happy Easter, Marty.
Oh, yes, and it's Easter too. Okay.
And so Carmen says
I can't iron.
You can't iron?
I can't iron with my ironing board with my iron on the ironing board. I have to move it inside. Okay.
Carmen Long says we need our own YouTube channel.
We actually have a YouTube channel. Thank you for mentioning that, Carmen. So if you want to see these after the fact, or you have a friend who's not on Facebook, if you go to YouTube and you search for Quilt Beginnings, we actually are putting all of these videos up there. Our goal is, these are really raw. You guys know that, right? They're real. You've seen them. They're real. Our goal is to actually start doing some tutorials online that are a little more sophisticated. Not a lot, because we want to keep it fun. But we're actually using camera and just can speed some activities up and cut out slow space and stuff. So and subscribe to Quilt Beginnings. It's a 2-step process. First, you have to find us. So you search Quilt Beginnings on YouTube, and then next to it, once you find us, you'll see all our videos below. But there's a little subscribe button. So you'll have to turn on, and then it will put it into your subscription feed. Thanks for asking, Carmen. All right, so now all I'm doing with my 1-inch strip is I'm just folding it in half and pressing it. And it turns into a really skinny little 1/2-inch. And I should have my sasher back here, but it's real life. I did not get that organized. So I'm just gonna do it. And again, if we want if we need more length, you would join your length first and then press your flange. So I'm just going up. This is probably way more than I need, but
It's going to go around your quilt twice.
Yes, whoops, gotta put the cordless back into its seat the right way. There we go. Okay, so you end up with a 1/2-inch flange. And what we wanna do is we attach the flange to our side first. The good news about the flange is that I don't have to miter these corners. I just cut them to the length of my side. So here's the side of my quilt, and this has salvage on it, so I'm just going to pull off that salvage. And again, we're working on a small quilt because I don't want you to have to watch me sew all day long. But I am going to turn a corner because the corners are always the trickiest part. So I'm going to sew here, and I could just leave it and trim when I get to the end, or I could trim it ahead of time, either way. Nothing too fancy, okay? When we put our flange on, we want to make sure that we are sewing with a scant quarter, a good scant quarter, because we don't want the seam line of where we attach the flange to our side to show. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this, I'm going to put it in my sewing machine. So I have my 1/4-inch foot on, but I'm going to stay really scant of a quarter inch. So I'm going to go ahead and, I don't know if you need to come around on this side, or can you see from there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I don't need to do anything fancy in the corner. And I'm just doing a scant quarter. All I'm doing is holding this flange in position. I get to shift when I go to put my binding on. You cannot layer all these things together and assume they won't shift on you. See? And I do have a light contrasting. I'm learning. I have black with white, so you can see how it just comes right on. I'm just going to go to the end. I made it a little longer than I need it to be, not much.
And our bobbin lasted all the way.
It's because I put a pretty full bobbin in yesterday. I learned that lesson yesterday. So see, I'm just attaching it to the side, and it doesn't matter how, I didn't sew very straight. Don't look too closely. But I don't need to do anything fancy in the corner. I'm just going to cross over because that's all going to be hidden and taken up in with my real binding when I go to attach it. Then I'm going to just start on the side in the end. And again, keeping my seam allowance narrow because I want to fully cover it up when I come back with my binding. Okay, and then I'm not going to go all the way. I don't need to. All right, so there I would do that on all 4 sides. And then I would go ahead and trim down these corners. You don't want that extra bulk in your corner. So I'm just going to trim down the little bit of flange as it sticks out. And I did put the folded side in. Make sure you put the folded side in. Raw edges are all together on the outside. I'm going to do this corner as well. Okay, so I have a nice square corner. Then I'm going to do my binding, which I did not fold yet. I did not do any prep because if you guys had seen us from 11 to 3 today, you would know why I did no prep. We sold, I think we've had 4 people pick up new machines, a Sashiko, a Bernina 770, and 2 Brilliants for 2 granddaughters that are learning to sew with their grandma during this time. My heart, that's my favorite too. Lots of machines were dropped off for service. A ton of people picked up elastic. We were right and left. We had it's been busy.
It's been fun.
It's been very fun. You're doing a great job of keeping us busy. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly, again, I should have my sasher, but I don't have it back here. So I'm just going to press my binding really quickly. And we're going to pretend like I finished edges and all that stuff. I'm just trying to make this a quick, we're not learning on how to make the binding today. We're just doing the technique of the flange. You guys have to watch those other episodes for how to actually make the binding from start to finish. Joyce is up front manning the store today, which is why she's not back here. But we like her. We like her back here too. Okay, so pretend I could show you that starting seam again. Actually, I think I will because I think it's just good to reinforce that. I want to put my fabric on my mat. I have my starting seam right. I'm going to follow the line. Put my ruler on my 45 degree. And cut. to see that V when I start. So I'm not going to finish this whole thing, but I just want to show you how I lay it on. This would be my flap I would leave. I would start in this corner, and that's what I really want to show you is the corner. Because corners are where the tricky part is. Now, before I used a scant 1/4 inch to put my flange on, I'm going to go back to my 3/8 of an inch when I go to put my bind. And it's going to just that black showing. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I do reverse when I do it. I'm going to come to the end, stitch until I'm 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to do the reverse again. I'm going to clip my thread. Then I'm going to pull my fabric out. I'm going to pull my binding straight up, straight back down to get that good corner. I'm going to make sure everything is lined up again. I'm going to start where that V is one more time. You guys should be getting really good and comfortable with my corners now. And come forward again. I'm going to stitch a little bit further and show you the magic. The question is, did I do it right?
That's always a big
Oh,
question.
I did do it right! Yay! So now I have a really pretty little flange that'll be just inside my binding. And again, my corner's going to turn perfectly. See how that flange just stays right nicely out of the way? You get a really beautiful square corner.
Wow.
And you don't have to do anything with that flange, just sew off and sew on. What do you think, girls? Do you like it? That better be yes.
You make it look
I
so
like it.
easy. I like it.
It is so easy. So just remember it's a narrow seam allowance when you put that flange on, and then you go back to your 3/8 seam allowance, so you can see the difference in the seam allowances right there. So here's my skinny putting it on, and there's my deeper putting my binding up on top of it. That 3/8 inches is getting it really good, and then at the end, on the back side, it's really hard to see, but you can see here is where I stop sewing. You see that? Where I stop sewing is where I start sewing. So you get a really nice, good corner.
Kay Blair says very.
Thank you, Kay Blair. All right, ladies. That's for this week. It's been really fun. I love seeing you guys here at 3 o'clock. I hope you join us next week. It's going to be all about the mask, and we're off Sunday. We'll be back on Monday, 11 o'clock, where you can start calling. We're trying to be really rigid about not answering phones too much between 11 and 3 because all those orders in between. So anyway, thanks for joining us. See ya.